All right, well, let's kick it off. Welcome to Leveling Up with Qnity. This is lessons on transforming your business. We've got an amazing story to share with you today. So let's get started. My name is Candice Gliotto. I am the Director of Training and Development for Qnity. I'm also a salon owner. I own citrus salons in California and Oregon. And I'm so excited to be here today to talk about one of the greatest challenges that faces us as salon and spa owners, the execution gap. So a little bit about what we're going to do. We're going to start by introducing this system that we have at Qnity called the 5 gaps. And then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into our gap focus for the day, which is the execution gap. And then I am going to introduce you to Darcy from Salon Enzo and Laura, her Qnity coach. And they're going to share the story of how they were able to tackle the execution gap within Darcy's business. And then, of course, we'll open it up for Q&A so that everybody can ask questions about this amazing story. So let's get started. Now, a little bit about Qnity. If you're new to us, you might be thinking, who are they? What do they do? Well, we offer systems and training and tools to be able to close the gaps within your business. We have several ways within how we do that, and several programs and ways that you can work with us. We have a program called Circle, which is a peer mastermind group that are professionally facilitated so that you can work with salon and spa owners like yourself on a regular basis so that you don't feel like you're alone as you're tackling your business. We also have Qnity one-on-one which is customized coaching. The story that you'll hear today happened around the Qnity one-on-one program. We also offer a curriculum called Money Pro that is a financial literacy curriculum designed to support professionals in the beauty and wellness industry. We offer a series of live workshops that are based around these gaps that we'll go through today. And we also have our annual Phil conference, which is a great way to really engage with the Qnity community, learn all about the 5 gaps of business, and get some amazing tools and education on how to fill those gaps within your business. Now, those 5 gaps are engagement, execution, leadership, growth, and profitability. Now, we are going to be focused on execution today, but let's just go through what each one of these gaps really means. Engagement is all about the connection that the people within your business have to your company. Now, sometimes this shows up as something that is a strength of ours, and sometimes it shows up as what we like to call a gap. And so a way to look at this within your own business would be, how actively engaged are the team members within your team to your company? Do they show up excited and inspired, or are they clock watchers? If you're leaning more toward clock watchers, this might be a gap that's a priority for you. Now, the gap that we'll focus more on today is the execution gap. And what we mean by this is, do you have a process and a system within your business to get the work that needs to get done completed? Is there a high level of follow through? When you say you're going to do something, you do it? Or do ideas float off into wherever? They get lost in our minds because we're caught in the weeds of the day in, day out things that happen within our business. Then we've got the leadership gap. Now, there are several elements to having a strong sense of leadership within a company. I really like to look at how strong a communicators are we. 87% of leaders say that they're effective communicators, but only 17% of their audiences agree. That shows that there is an absolute gap when it comes to leadership. Our next gap is the growth gap. And what we mean by this is we're talking about revenue. So is our business growing? Are we driving that top line? Are we increasing the number of clients coming into our business? And are we increasing that average spend when they're in our salons and spas? Our fifth gap is profitability. So we can drive top line revenue, but if we're not properly managing the money going out, then we may not be left with the profitability that our company needs to be sustainable and successful. So today's focus is execution, but before we get to that, I want you to think about those 5 gaps that I just shared and explained. And I want you to think about how they're showing up in your business. And go ahead and open up the chat and let us know, what is your greatest strength and where is your greatest opportunity? I'll put them back on the screen here so you can take a moment to think. But I would love to hear from the audience kind of how these things are showing up within your business. So greatest strength and greatest opportunity. Now, execution is our gap focus of the day, and this is all about going from knowing what we need to do to doing what we need to do. And when we have a strong level of execution within our business, it means that we have a very effective process for not only the planning, but for the doing, the implementation and the execution of those plans. And so a few fun facts around around execution. Only 23% of companies actively use a system for their planning. And 86% of leadership teams spend less than an hour a month working on their strategy. If this is something you can relate to, as you can see by this statistic here, you're not alone. But businesses that have a clear process to execute their plans outperform their competitors by as much as 120%. So we know that there is a reason for having this strong execution strategy within your business. Now, Qnity has several grid-based tools that are simple and visual and create an opportunity for you to tackle the doing or the execution within your business in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming or like a burden. And that's what we're going to share with you today, is how Darcy and Laura were able to utilize these tools for Darcy to make a huge shift within her business and ultimately a shift within her life too, because salon and spa owners here on this call, we all know that our businesses can be all consuming. So Laura is Darcy's coach. She's also a salon owner. She owns Tailored Salon. Darcy and Laura, go ahead and come off mute and introduce yourselves and say hello.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Laura Graven. I am a salon owner as well as a coach and guide with Qnity. And yeah, I get to work a lot with one-on-one Qnity clients. And, my favorite thing really is just connecting within our community, right? We all face a lot of challenges that have a lot of overlaps. And, a lot of the challenges that we face can be unique to our industry. And so I just really love connecting with community and having the opportunity to meet in ways like this, but also in one-on-one opportunities so that we can all learn and grow from each other.
Well, thanks, Laura. I'm so glad you're here, and you're going to be really, talking about, from your perspective as a coach, what Darcy's journey with the Qnity tools and best practices around the execution gap looked like. And with that being said, let's hear from Darcy. Darcy, how are you today?
Good. I'm really flattered to be asked to be here today. I've been in the industry for 24 years, and this September will be 13 years as a salon owner. And it's really takes a lot of time to figure out what you're doing. Even if you start with a business plan, you get in the weeds of it, and it takes a while to figure out. So I'm happy to be here and sharing what I've learned.
Well, we're so excited and honored to have you here sharing your story too, because, as alone as we might feel sometimes as leaders, trying to just do all the things that come with wearing the hat of entrepreneur or the hat of small business owner, we're not alone because we have a lot of similar challenges. And so I know as you share your story today, there's people out there that are listening going, oh my gosh, me too, me too. And so your story is so impactful and so important for other people to hear. So start off by just telling me a little bit about your business. It's called Salon. And so where are you located?
I am located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is about halfway between Harrisburg and Philly. So central
Okay.
Pennsylvania. And I am an 8-chair salon. I do not have a spa. We have 9 hairstylists, including myself. I still work behind the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Currently 25 hours a week, but that'll change in July. And we have retained staff from day one. So we have a few staff members day one, but we've been growing since we opened. So it's been great.
So that's awesome. You opened your business 13 years ago. It's growing. You've got a big, beautiful team here. Your salon is gorgeous, by the way. And so tell us a little bit about, about what you were working on and what you were going through around the time that you started to, inquire about working with Qnity and working with Laura. What was happening within your business?
When I first met with Laura, one of the first things I said to her, I feel like a squirrel. I am someone that has always been, love education. I love, getting all the information that I can get, but I never really had the system to execute like I do now. So I would squirrel away all my little information nuts, and I have all sorts of great ideas, but never could actually execute them and get them into plan. Spent most of my time just reacting to the things that needed to be done in the moment, and just was mostly overwhelmed all the time.
Yeah, if you're a salon owner out there listening, you can relate to that, same,
Mhm.
right? And so, we find ourselves kind of stuck in this cycle of keeping our head above water. And, you were successful, your business grew, and your clients were happy and your team was happy. But what about you? How are you feeling at this time?
Well, I have always been proud of what I do. I work really hard to make it happen, but just really felt overwhelmed, missed my family. I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with them. And it was great that things were going great, but just felt really lonely and tired and burnt out,
Yeah,
especially after the COVID experience.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that was definitely one of the very first things that I really noticed in my work with Darcy was she was connected to a lot of great resources. She had, she talks about kind of squirreling things away. She had loads of resources kind of at her fingertips and piled away. But ultimately, I think, that loneliness of being an owner and just that overwhelm had really set in. And so she was connected to all these resources, but it was almost like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Darcy, but it was like she just didn't know where to start. It was like there was so much good information that she had when it really came to getting the next most important thing done. She didn't really know where to start. And so,
I think the term you always used was analysis paralysis. I just kind of froze because I didn't know how to prioritize and where to start.
mhm,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So, okay, so we're painting a picture of kind of where you were, like inspired and excited. Also, you mentioned this earlier, you work 25 hours a week behind the chair. And that, although you're physically in your business, it takes you out of a position to be able to work on your business for a significant portion of the week. And so you had to make sure that you had something in place to really make sure that you had an effective and efficient way of executing all of the other operational pieces of the business. And so I I would love to hear, these are the three primary tools that you were able to use. And as I shared earlier, this is kind of our point of difference at Qnity is we have these very visual grid-based tools that are designed for creatives to be able to get all those ideas, because a lot of us are like Darcy, we're inspired and we are knowledgeable and we know the things that we can do. So this is just all about making it happen. So these tools are designed for us to get our ideas out of our head and on paper and start making sense of them. So Laura and Darcy, both of you, tell me about how you introduce these tools within your business. Like, where did you start?
Well, and I'm sure Darcy will dig in a little bit more to this, but the first place that we really did start was with her 9 grids. She had loads of great ideas. She had loads of things that had built up and ideas that she wanted to execute. So really, that first step in this process when we started working together was just to get it all out of her head. First, to just dump all of that out in still an organized way. You can see these were her initial 9 grids that she had created. They're, organized by the 5 functions of our business. And so this was a really great opportunity for me as a coach to really know, what are her priorities? What are her biggest ideas that we can start working on collectively? And I think that process was the first step that we took to start getting her unstuck. Right.
Yeah.
So like just getting this out of her head and down on paper was, I think, a really important time for her to start recognizing, where do we start with clarity and where is this work really going to begin? Darcy, was that true for you? Did you feel like this was kind of that turning point initially?
Yeah, just I think the initial getting it all on paper and seeing it all in front of me was kind of like, no wonder I'm kind of spinning in circles. I've been keeping all of this in my head and not really organizing it in any real way other than just little lists and notes and binders and all of that. So it really gave me a way to get it all out and then figure out how to prioritize and then plan.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about how you were able to go from these brain dumps into a full-blown execution strategy. But one thing I just want to make sure that we clarify for anybody that's new to Qnity, we've talked about the 5 gaps, and those are the areas of opportunity within our business. Those help us to identify where we need to focus on first. It helps us prioritize where our greatest opportunities are. Our second system related to execution is called the 5 functions. And so these 9 grids here are organized by function. So this is where the work lives. And so the 5 functions are marketing, education, human capital, which is anything people facing, operations, which is anything systems and logistics, and then finance, which is managing the money in and the money out. And so you, through the lens of these 5 functions, did this brain dump. And yeah, I can see why you just said what you said around, oh, no wonder I felt overwhelmed. Look at all this stuff I have to do. And so from here, it was about prioritizing what came first. And so tell me a little bit about that process and how you were able to go from this brain dump to a very streamlined process for getting the work done.
Yeah, so once I brain dumped everything out, I could clearly see what were tasks, what were projects, what were initiatives, what I needed help with, what maybe I was doing on my own. So then I was able to kind of sort them into, if it was a task, it went straight to a list and moved off the sheet. If it was a project or initiative, it got its own 9 grid, and then I got to dump all my information that I've collected and scrolled away onto that, so I knew where I could find it again. And then from that, it was really just kind of picking what made sense for when and what was the priority in that moment and what could be pushed off. So then it could really, I could see what my workload was and really be able to choose what to start with and then what to plan for the future. And I was able to, I'm still on a quarterly basis instead of a season. 6 weeks goes so fast for me. So I kind of choose either, if it's a project or initiative that I'm working on myself, then I only choose one for that quarter, and sometimes it would take me 6 months to do. So I can really see what my bandwidth is and what I can plan. And then I know if it doesn't fit within, this season or next season or next quarter, then I can put it later in the year so that I know I'm not going to forget about it, because it's all there. It's all squirreled away in one neat little packet that I can, and as things come up, I can find where that is. I can place it there, and I know I'm not going to forget about it. And I know when I'm ready for it, it's there for when I need it.
Gotcha. So
That
this is sorry, Laura, this is the second step in this process. And then Laura, I want to hear from your perspective too of how you supported Darcy in organizing this work. And so Darcy, what I'm hearing you say is that, you went from these function 9 grids, and then you decided what was most important, and you created a whole nother set of 9 grids to really zoom into each project. So, in a way, you kind of are like creating layers of, starting out and then moving towards being really zoomed in. And this tool, for anybody that's unfamiliar, is a calendarization tool called the 8 Seasons Calendar. And you can see over here on the left, we've got our 5 functions where she organized the work, and then she can schedule when she's going to tackle what based on how she prioritized that work. So those things don't get forgotten, they just get pushed back because you have a realistic idea of what your bandwidth is. Laura, tell me about working with Darcy and how you guys approached the creation of building out the process of building out this tool.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Something that we say at Qnity all the time is the key to execution is calendarizing it, right? And so this particular calendarizing tool was a really, really beautiful visual way for Darcy to start. She said, I needed to see the work that I was doing, and I needed to really know what my bandwidth was. And she knows her bandwidth better than anyone else, right? And so that really is, the work of a coach is to come alongside of her and not help her dig out from that overwhelm, but also start to see this outline of all of the work. We're going to get to it, right? It's all going to be here, but in a really thoughtful and organized way. Darcy, the moment that I met her, she's a taskmaster. Like, you give her homework to do, she's going to get it done. You give her, all of her tasks and things to do. She excels at that so well. But really, this organization tool of taking all those tasks and ideas and projects in her head and getting that in an organized way, now, she knew exactly the work that needed to happen any given day because of this organization process. So that was really, this tool, I mean, the variety of the tools are obviously so useful, but this was kind of that first step in starting to take all of her collective work and help her see that we have a whole year that we can get that done in. So
yeah, and I love how visual it is. Like, again, if this is new to you, like if we look at Darcy's season 3, okay, and just again for context here, if you're, oops, hold on, we're not there yet. For context here, if you're new to us, each season is 6 to 7 weeks, 2 seasons is a quarter. And so Darcy's saying that she likes to, create a strategy per quarter or 2 seasons, which is actually what I prefer to do as well. We call that a planning cycle, but it is kind of interesting. We get these ideas, we learn a new trick or tip, and we want to put it into our workload. And so here I can see, like, hey, when you see that you've got as much listed as you do in season 3 here, which is busy, like you got a lot of human capital going on right here, like it kind of can help you make a better decision for yourself and your own sanity of what you can realistically take on, which is so, so important. So from here, you moved into the next tool that we're going to talk about today, which is the 5 functions planner. And so go ahead and tell me a little bit about maybe Laura, you can start us off with the theory of this tool, and then Darcy, I'd love for you to talk about your experience in building this out and what that did for you.
Yeah, so the 5 functions planner, this is a really, really unique tool that does help us kind of take some of those bigger projects and initiatives that we might be taking on as an organization, and really helps us break down the timeline of that, who's going to be responsible for that, and how, you know, you can see this column of key measures. Key measures are really going to tell us, how do we know that this was worth doing, right? How are we going to know that this was complete and that this was a success? And so this particular tool helps us take not only, you know, it's not so much meant for the regular functioning things within our business. These are those ideas that we have that we really want to bring them to life. And so I love this tool. As we were talking about kind of timelines here, and we talk about planning cycles, this is a really useful tool to be using over the course of 2 particular seasons. So over the time of 1 quarter, it gives us a lot of opportunity to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of time set aside for these projects and initiatives. And this is not where, you know, I think we've all kind of been using this terminology a little bit on this call today. You know, we have tasks and projects and initiatives. We're getting really clear and specific about what each of those are. And this particular tool doesn't have, you know, this laundry list of Darcy's tasks on it, right? That's not the purpose of this particular tool. This is really meant to help us get really, really clear about the projects that we're going to take on, why we're doing them, and who's going to have what done by when. So it really breaks it down.
Yeah. I think a big call out, and Darcy, I'd be curious if you say the same thing, is, you know, we're starting to see some other names in this who column. So it's supporting some delegation because, as we talked about earlier, you're a busy person. And so tell me a little bit about what this tool has done for you.
Well, it just kind of takes that next step of taking each quarter and giving me my big things that I want to make sure that I'm staying track on, and who is helping me with those, how will I know if they're getting done or not. So it helps me with follow-up. But it really just is that next step of keeping me on pace to be getting the things done that I'm really hoping and planning to be done. And all the detail is back on the 9 grids. Each of these items has a 9 grid of its own, and I squirrel all my information onto that 9 grid. So I have the spaces to keep everything, just to free up that mind space. That's the biggest thing, is just getting things out on your 9 grids on your calendars, so that way your brain doesn't have to remember it all. And I just remember at a point where I would be doing a client's hair, but my head would still be back at my computer screen doing the things that I was doing. So I kind of had this split brain, and now I'm able to disconnect from that a little bit more and be present with the guests that I do see, because I don't have to worry about forgetting it.
What an incredible call out right there. And I know I was talking with somebody else around this tool as well, and they had a you know, family emergency that took them out of their business for a couple of weeks. And she had mentioned, you know, gosh, if I would have got back in and didn't have this, I would have been, you know, taking weeks to find my foothold again. But instead it was like, here's the map. And so for you, in a zoomed in way, with that same concept, but in the day in, day out, kind of taking off the hairdresser hat and putting on the business owner hat, and then and over again, you've now got a roadmap. And so I love that. And it's not just hairdresser and salon owner hat, it's mom hat too, right? You've got your family and you've got your personal life and yourself to take care of as well. It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about the results now. So you've been doing this. First of all, how long have you had this process up and running within your salon?
Well, I started with Laura, was it July of 22, I believe. We started together, and it took probably about 6 months to really find my way. I think the biggest spark that I got, because Laura helped me understand the tools. She helped me see them and use them for the first time. But last year when I went to the Phil, I took the execution workshops, kind of teaser workshops with Heath. And that is where it kind of, the layering effect really kind of sunk in, and the big light bulb. So I am on my second year planning. I just finished planning 2024. So I'm on my second year planning of doing it. This
Wow.
Something else,
And then
something
go
I just
ahead,
think is really
Laura.
important to call out here
Yeah.
is as she's, yes, layering these tools, but also starting to practice using these tools again and again, right?
Yes.
I think, you know, a really good example of why that practice is so important. The first time that Darcy ever filled out a 5 functions planner, she's got her name behind every single thing, right?
Yeah.
And that wasn't entirely helping when it came to that feeling of overwhelm. But as she's utilized this tool and as she's brought these tools further and further into her business and with her team, she's gotten really good at starting to delegate things. And so even with, you know, very large and very small size organizations, it doesn't matter how big we are. Our ability to delegate really is dependent on us as leaders. And these particular tools can be a really, and the practice of these tools, and the more that we incorporate them and use them again and again, the better we get at delegating and the better our team and our leadership teams can function within this system. And that's what makes this system so effective, in my opinion. But I just wanted to call
Absolutely.
that out because
No,
her
it's
work has evolved with these
such
tools.
a great call out. Yeah, it's such a great call out. And something I was going to call out, who's going to talk first, but is very aligned with that, which is that, you know, you mentioned, Darcy, you know, you went to the Phil and you started to learn how to layer the tools together. So, you know, for those of you that are listening or watching the recording, you know, and you may or may not have experienced the 5 functions planner or the 8 seasons calendar, you know, 9 grids, all of that. You know, something that has developed at Qnity over the last couple of years is a very specific process for the layering of these tools. And so if this is something, you know, that needs to be revisited, you know, some of you might have these tools laying around in your salon. The layering piece, I think, is just so it's so impactful in how the work gets spread out amongst, you know, your team and how the tools kind of filter into one another. And so I just wanted to call that out because you mentioned at the Phil, you were like, ding, and that was actually when we launched the layering in this more specific way. So your results, so previous execution, 15%. So tell me about what this means. How did you get this percentage, you guys?
Well, I went through the 63%. I went through my previous last year's 9 grid book of all of where I would squirrel everything. And out of everything that was on there, I completed 63% of what I set out to complete. So I was blown away. When Laura asked me before, when we were prepping for this, I was like, I don't know how
How to measure that?
yeah, I don't. And then now I have kept it because I used my book for those things that I didn't complete that I still felt were good ideas and still wanted to do. I just transferred them right over to this year's 9 grid workbook. So
oh my gosh, you know that feeling of like, I don't want to forget this. I can't do it right now, but I don't want to forget it. Like,
yeah,
you
and
were
I
able to
already have
keep
all
it
the
all
information
together.
squirreled. I already have things that are starting to be put into place for that. So I'm not going to lose it. It's there. So I was able to transfer those things. And before previous execution, I mean, we took a stab in the dark. I really was chasing my tail most days. I would even be surprised if 15% got executed. The 15% is just payroll, clients, the things
the
that
day
are
to day.
absolutely necessary, ordering, the
Yeah.
absolutely necessary things that need to get done were getting done with a little bit of, you know, growth as I had helped.
So you basically grew your execution you quadrupled your execution, even more so. So you previously, you know, accomplishing about 15% of the things that you set out to accomplish, now at 63%. And, you know, other results have come along with that. Increased your profit going from 3% to 8%. I mean, now look, average salon profitability in the US is 2 to 5%. So you are just doing phenomenally now. And so, what impact has this had on you as a business owner, as a, on your personal life to have a profit jump of 5%?
Yeah, so it really, because I had this just mental space, I was able to focus in on, my P&L, focus in on growth within my team, coaching them to grow. So it really benefited the bottom line. And ultimately I'm able to, this July, I'm right now planning and working towards taking 11 hours from behind the chair so that I can focus on the business even more. So
11 more hours, to focus on your business or to focus on yourself, right? You're delegating, you're confident, you're making more money. You've got 11 more hours a week. Your execution is quadrupled. You've got complete clarity on what's going on within your business. And then let's not forget about not just Darcy, the business owner, but Darcy, the mom, the human being. So this is your little one. What's his name?
Clive.
Clive. So, for those of you that are parents out there, we know that this is the why behind a lot of the work that we do. And with that being said, sometimes we're so overwhelmed at work, we get home and the Clives or our kids or the loved ones that are the most important to us get the leftovers. And that's not fair. We don't want that. And so, today, you're feeling a lot better, and that's impacting you on a personal level as well. So just unpack that a little bit with me. And Laura, if you can chime in just from outside perspective, what's Darcy today showing up like compared to Darcy a couple years ago?
Yeah,
I mean, she's a different person. Go ahead.
yeah, I wrote my first call with Laura, it's through Zoom, and one of the first things she asked me is how I was, and I just broke down in tears. And I was like, nobody ever asks me how I'm doing. I don't get asked that. And it just took me so off guard that I had kind of forgotten to see how I was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I feel way more organized. The clarity I have of what I need to do, how I'm doing it, and how to prioritize it is just giving me so much more comfort. I'm not going to lie and say I don't have overwhelm. I absolutely do, but I can lean into knowing that I have a system that I can come back to, have actionable steps to get out of that overwhelm. So, I don't feel like I'm chasing my tail anymore. And if I find myself in that moment, I remember that I have a way out and a system that's built that works.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Laura, you were going to
absolutely.
say, and congratulations on that, Darcy. I mean, it's such a huge
Mhm.
leap to make within your business. Laura, you were going to comment. You said Darcy's a different person.
I think I love that she was vulnerable enough to just also share, like, I'm not going to say I don't get overwhelmed because of course I
Yeah.
do. Like, the reality of us as business owners, like, the hard doesn't go away, right? Like, we are always going to continue to be faced with challenges
Yeah.
within our lives and our business, with our teams. Like, that's not, there's no, magic switch for that. But the
Yeah.
fact that it doesn't last long, like that is
Yeah.
because of these systems that she has worked so hard to really execute within her business. And this hard work that she does each day is starting to have lasting results so that you're not, you know, what's that phrase that we say a lot? Like, it doesn't get easier, you just get better, right? And
Mhm.
so, like, I've really, really been so privileged to see and bear witness to Darcy's work around, like, these challenges haven't left her business that she's faced before, but
Yeah.
she is so equipped and she has this ability to work through those challenges and to overcome that and come up with the solutions in a way that she couldn't do before. And it's not that she couldn't do it. I think she just, the overwhelm was so great and that bandwidth just didn't exist the way that it does today. So,
Well,
yeah.
and to something that we haven't talked about is that I'm a single salon owner and I don't have a management team. So to me, it also gained community with Qnity. I've taken a couple of the workshops now. I've gone to the Phil, so I'm part of a circle group. So it really has helped me gain people that I can relate to.
Oh yeah, amen to that. I mean, my gosh, even just not just, but in my work as a coach or an educator, and Laura, I'm sure you'd say the same. It's like, oh my gosh, sometimes we'll be working with people and then I'll be writing down, I need to do that too. Right? Because perspective is everything. And so, yeah, I think the call out is you now have a system to be able to manage that. And yeah, the work doesn't go away. It's always going to be hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for Laura, but you know, having tools to help to manage and navigate that is, you know, just is such a gift. And so, Darcy, congratulations on all of your success and this huge transformation within your business. And to anybody else listening, if you found, you know, Darcy's story relatable, like, you know, you're not alone, and there are tools and support systems specifically with us, you know, that we can help you to implement within your business to set yourself up for success. And so with that being said, I do want to open it up for any questions. If there's any questions or comments that you have for Darcy or Laura or myself, please go ahead and feel free to use the chat, and we'll make sure that we answer them for you. And I also want to make sure that, you know, if you're curious about getting to, you know, to know more about what we do, and we went really deep into specifically the execution body of work and system that Darcy implemented within her business. But we do have a lot of other gaps and additional systems that we use to address those gaps. And so there's a QR code on the screen that you can scan. It'll take you to a little bit more information about how you can get started in working with us. And we would love to hear from you. And maybe we'll see you at the Phil coming up on May 19th, 20th, and 21st in Austin, Texas. This is where a lot of us connected for the first time, and it's a great introduction to Qnity to really dive in and learn some more about our systems, but also hear from some other experts on leadership and engagement. And so with that being said, we've reached the end of our time together today, and I just want to thank you both, Laura and Darcy, for sharing, and thank you to everybody for tuning in and listening to Darcy's amazing story. We'll be doing more of these around the other gaps of business, and so wishing you all a great week, and thank you for tuning in. Bye now.